I think we might be getting back into game chat. It might be one of the fastest breaks we've had so far. Our music is cut. Our scoreboards are up once again. And we'll take a quick look at this, as I believe we are probably about to kick off into Erangel. If that's not the case, I'll send you on to another break to grab another drink and grab another snack. But for now, we'll continue to look at how things are shaping up. Royalty, not able to make too much movement, unfortunately, from the bottom of the leaderboards. A team that has not been able to pick up any placement points. I believe our only team to not be able to do so. Yes, in stage number 2. Hopefully in the final 2 days of play, we'll see a bit of a pickup from that squad. I know we got a lot of Royalty fans in chat. So shout out your favorite players, guys. Show them that support throughout the final game of the day. And then the final 2 days of stage 2 coming up tomorrow and Wednesday. Istanbul Wildcats, though, going into the final game of the day, have taken first place. 68 points is where they sit. Fight Club trailing just shortly behind them. 4-point deficit. And then Tony Team 2 points behind Fight Club. And a 2-point deficit, so it's very close. It's neck and neck in terms of the bragging rights for winning out Stage 2's lobby. However, the top 9 is where we are going to be concerned. Top 9 move on to PELC, phase number 1 of 2020. And that's where you want to be. I am just waiting to see if we have any type of confirmation that we're about to hop in a game here. Haven't heard any footsteps on the ground or any other indicators. So we'll give it another minute or so and see how things are progressing at that. Oh, I hear footsteps. I hear footsteps. And yes, into the plane we go, and across Erangel is where we're going to be finding ourselves for the final game of the day, the 8th match of stage number 2. Plane path going to be favored down towards the southeastern side of the map. It cuts off some of those northwestern drop locations that we have seen teams in this lobby favor. South Georgia Pole, North Georgia Pole, even Zarky has been dropped on, at least from the matches we saw yesterday, where we had 2 games of Erangel. So we do switch the schedule. 2 games of Erangel will be played out tomorrow, and then on the final day, it'll be back to 2 games of Miramar. But these teams did have 2 opportunities yesterday to kind of get a read on their opponents, 2 opportunities of VOD review to go back and see how things shaped up after yesterday's games. And so we're going to be looking to see at least a little bit more traditional PUBG, not necessarily the chaotic mess to kick off the games, although in this lobby where it's a best of 16, anything is on the table. Plane Path has kicked everyone out of the cargo hold, will be left out of their own devices, their own loot locations, and more to try to make their way through this final game of the day. 15 seconds on the clock until we will see that phase 1 circle pop and give us a better indication of how this game is going to be playing out. Are we going to see a melee circle? Are we going to see a far north circle? Are we going to see a phase 1 circle that is split in half by the river leading out of Yasnaya? And then, of course, there's the other option, a far east coast circle with about 50% water in play. Sure, let's give us that, as we do see it pop out. And to quote one of our viewers in chat earlier, a moan was heard across all teams inside of the lobby. Yeah, you know, I'm sure that probably happened for many. Level, though, going to be very happy with their position inside of this circle. That Lipovka Coast going to be a beautiful spot to at least have 2 of their members. Prison going to be the other occupied territory by level. Rotations will have to come out, far ones to be exact, especially by some of the members of Melt the Power, Guess Who and his teammate, who are rotating over towards North Georgia Pole. Not sure if they're going to drop down to the south. It possibly would be an easier loot split for them, but it will continue to take time out of what is already going to be a very short loot rotation if they want to find themselves entering into phase number 1 in a timely manner. Hakkapeliittas going to be holding on to Pachinki, the heart of Erangel. Our members of the Tony team going to be split off between the apartments and school on the edge of phase number 1. So Tony team is going to have a very easy time, at least finding a prime position inside of phase number 1. They're going to have one of the quickest rotations by virtue of their positioning here in the early stages of game number 4. Melt the Power has gone all the way over to North Georgia Pole, didn't decide to drop down to South Georgia Pole. But in the process of working their way all the way over to the West Coast, they are going to have a bit of a tougher time. It still could be fairly easy, but will likely be a little bit more difficult for them to find a position inside of Phase 1 that's going to be their prime position, their favored position, their priority location. HaKoHe down here in Primorsk. This is another team that we had seen soar very far off of the plane path to try to get to this loot location. It took a massive chunk of time out of the kind of the allotment that they have to loot through here and enter into phase number 1 at a good time. So we'll likely have to be favoring a very late rotation, one that hopefully opens up a little bit something more to them by virtue of other teams moving over towards the coast. Popping over here, though, to Milta. It's going to be Stellar, Celis, and the rest of the crew looting up to their heart's content. And then all the way to the north in Severny, it's Boris. We saw Boris head over to Severny twice yesterday, so this is going to be their static loot location, a spot that they are very comfortable with progressing through the early game on. Tony Team, a scout comes out. Sabin rolls inside of the compound to try to secure a position for his squad, and Sabin rolls right in to the barrel of Mackenzie's AKM. Not able to find any connections whatsoever, but the pressure certainly has been applied. And now Sabin is going to be trying to hold on for dear life, calling in his teammates to try to get some support. I think based off of the shots, based off of the pressure that came out of Mackenzie's compound, I am pretty sure that Sabin can all but confirm that it is a solo player for right now. Sabin pulls off this entirely in favor of dipping back into the forest. Off in the distance, you can see the other members of Brute Force being called in. So this was a good call. A good call from Sabin at the right time. Possibly even a call from Sabin that finds himself capitalizing on top of Hawk. That could be a knock and a flush that we see potentially be our first blood here very shortly. Blue zone going to be beginning to work its way over towards the far eastern side of the map. As phase 1 closes out, you can see it's a massive cluster inside of the centralized area of the zone, just off the west of Lipovka, pretty much like Prison, a little bit north of Prison, is where we just have a huge congregation of squads. Tony Team going to be rotating, trying to reunite with Sabin inside of the forest. They drop pressure from multiple different angles. It's going to be level and their immediate threat down towards the mansion that ends up putting a little bit of gunfire in that direction. Intruders going to be sprayed down as well. Stellar moving off of that Milta position. That initial drop location here on Erangel is going to be finding a few connections as well. But Tony Team getting tagged down. Level Phlasm from inside of the mansion area is able to find a few connections with the SLR. Blacklight, thankfully, though, has a little bit of cover, a little bit of defilade in the form of a rock and hillside to pick up their fallen teammate and possibly get out of dodge. That's definitely got to be the play they have to make. But Sabin is pushed up. He's inside of the one building that lies outside of the mansion compound here on this side, on the northern side of the mansion. As Nail Cop gets tagged down, an unfortunate loss coming in for the Intruders, but they still do have the opportunity to get a little bit of revenge and return the fire on top of Beamy. Still going to be positioned on the western side of the Lumber Mill Hill. And Melt the Power rolls in, and they're off of the far northern Georgia Pole loot location. They've got a bit of a ways to go, but it's not going to be too difficult of a rotation. We saw many teams already kind of open up the edges of phase number 1 by pretty much bombing center. That's essentially what majority of our teams have already done. Murfle going to be tagged down. Beamy claims another kill on top of the Intruders, who are now left with 2 remaining. Rekorder, nice nade. Going to be just passing by. If it was cooked about a second earlier, would have been exploding right in front of the face of Beamy. But unfortunately, does not have its intended connection. CrazyCrew going to be sitting atop the hillside, the high ground position, trying to investigate what lies over towards the west. STaravillo and side of the third story will be picking up a significant amount of that information for his squad to work with once we see this phase 2 shift. That's where this circle possibly could be a little bit deadly. If we see an adjustment, not like we saw in phase number 3, not a correction, essentially, where phase 2 is all land, but where phase 2 contains a lot of water and is significantly reduced in terms of the play area that these teams have to work off of. Preacher's going to be breaching here on top of the Dose Pilots. Nade narrowly missing the door frame where Rita had been holding on to. And so the Dose Pilots remain alive here, but they are spread out and will be pushed very aggressively up the stairwell. Rita's about to get sprayed down and will be connected upon Major with the AKM. Is able to find the knockdown onto Rita, and the flush as well comes out. Still have all 16 teams remaining, as Pola going to be pulling off of this high ground position entirely. Get out of dodge, get back to your other teammates in that 2-2 split. Phase 1 going to be closing out in just a few seconds time, and this phase 2 shift again is going to be a very telling story. And there it goes. Almost a hard shift down to the far south is where we are going to be focused for phase number 2 as we transition out of the early game. The prison, almost a center mark for this phase. Water still going to be in play. The coastal region is going to be in play as well. So this is an interesting shift, one that doesn't really open things up for many teams. A few squads going to be liking what they see here, but many still going to be in a bit of chaos, a bit of an uncertain area. Big rotations coming out from the north. CrazyCrew under fire. That's going to be the ADR farmers from the prison cliffs on the east that end up finding some of those opportunities for shots. AmerouuS from Brute Force also going to be flying down parallel to that CrazyCrew rotation. Back over here to the lumber mill. It's Stellar working off against the intruders. Mkaelovich, Rekorder, and crew going to be holding different angles along the rocks to try to spot out Flamyy, and the rest of the crew is able to do so. A quick spray down from Mkaelovich is going to be finding success as Flamyy gets flushed out of the game. A player for that Stellar squad that has been very, very significant. And now the third party comes in. Intruders going to be pushing up onto the Dose Pilots, who have tried to lend a third party hand in this engagement as well. It's not going to work out for anyone here. Everyone's going to be feeling the hurt. And Rekorder pushes up, finds the spray down on 2, is able to secure those kills. The flush onto both Lipsin and his teammate. Brute Force has been able to make their way a little bit north of that main Mill to Power compound. It's going to be the yellow shacks that sit just off of the coast, where AmerouuS has found themselves being knocked. However, good opportunity for their teammates to come in and pick up the res. Looking back over at Level, being pushed right now from the north by Boris, but also a rotation from Royalty along the east coast, about 50 or so odd meters to the east of where Level is currently holding, is going to be drawing the attention of both of these squads over towards that direction, if but anything just to get a little bit of line of sight onto those teams. Royalty going to be continuing to try to make this rotation, facing off against a lot of pressure coming out of the compound where the ADR farmers are holding. It's going to be stalling that rotation altogether. They have to stop and they have to pull into the compound, get a little bit of safety, and wait for the phase 3 shift here in about 50 seconds time. Over here, just off of the Deadwood inside of the compounds, one of the, I'd call it a priority position based off of where this circle has landed. It's going to be Fight Club entering into Lipovka, going to be the members of Boris off of that far Severny location they had found themselves in to begin the game. HaKoHe rolls into the compound that was previously held down by 2 other squads. We had seen at least a bit of a mix-up there in between some of the members of Tony team. Phase number 2 going to be closing out. Forkin, so the volume's on max. I will definitely give your feedback over to production to see if we can increase that. Because, yeah, I agree. I mean, sometimes it's a little bit low, but we'll see if we can't get that sorted out for you. As we continue on here, the next phase does shift. It's not really going to be much of a shift whatsoever. Still maintains that central point on the previous circle's centrality. Not many adjustments have to be made by the teams that did favor towards those centralized positions. However, rotations have to come out from the teams previously riding on the edge. And now going to be forced into the fight. It's HaKoHe. And a massive explosion on the motorcycle. Fike will be going down and out. Tony team with a 4-man firing squad behind a little bit of defilade is able to capitalize beautifully on that engagement. Preacher's now going to be fighting against one of the members of Level. Moonlight rolling in to the compound. The yellow shacks off of the mansion position, trying to clear out the remaining enemy threats inside of this immediate vicinity. Massive spray down going to be coming out. It's not looking good for the Preachers as they lose yet again another member. Just going to be selfish left alive. A huge nade comes in from Moonlight and is able to close out the hopes and dreams of Preachers here in game number 4 of the day, out in 16th position. They will be our first team to exit as the chaos begins to erupt here on Erangel. The 14-minute mark has been met. HaKoHe going to be engaged onto the members of Boris's Tony team after finding that massive elimination. Onto HaKoHe will be trying to bomb down to the south along the eastern coast is where they traverse. But it's not going to be easy. They've pretty much have said we've made it far enough. I think we tempted fate. Let's pop up at the shack and not try to push it down any further. Four members of Tony team still going to be alive here. CrazyCrew positioned a little bit to the south, I believe, with 3 up. Vital and his teammate, no, 4 up. They're in a 2-2 split. 2 going to be holding on to the prison hills. 2 going to be inside of the crates just down the south on the exact same road where Tony team currently hold. Hakkapeliittas continuing that transition off of the western edge of phase number 3. They've pretty much created the biggest buffer zone, I think, of any team currently, any of the other 14 teams remaining inside of the lobby. It will be looking good for now. However, that story could drastically change in about 25 seconds time when the phase 4 shift does come out. Level, after taking away the yellow compounds from the Preachers, are going to be able to solidify their position on the northern side of this phase 3 circle. But again, it's a position that could definitely be shifted out. The edge players not rewarded in the previous shift. We'll see how this phase 4 shift goes. Hard shift down to the southwest is where we're going to be going. So as we mentioned, Level, yes, we'll have to make big moves. That previous northern spot no longer going to be safe, no longer going to be favored. And it's going to be a lumber mill circle. Prison going to be implicated as well. I'd be hard pressed if we're going to be seeing any teams enter into prison. It's quite the bottleneck, quite the choke point for you to enter into at this stage in the game. But the lumber mill hillside is going to be an absolute bloodbath. Expect that for sure as teams start to reposition. HaKoHe, VladKot, the solo player left for the squad, trying to advance their position off of the blue zone and into phase number 4. Well, they have to rotate even further off of this eastern position. They're not going to be out of dodge just yet. And Boris is rotating right in front of them. Although they weren't spotted out, it does give them at least the information to work off of that it's not going to be easy. There are going to be teams sitting in front of them on that rotation path. Hey, a fellow Vlad. That's exactly right, Vlad the Inhaler. A fellow Vlad inside of this game. Melt to Power engaged in a bit of a kerfuffle here with the members of the Istanbul Wildcats. Laza does go down on the second story of the Harry Potter. However, Melt to Power's guess who maintains their squad's position. Everyone trying to rotate around this Harry Potter, trying to get different angles. BSD, you can see that dangerous player of this Wildcat squad trying to push up the hillside with Apocalypse. Guess who was able to get the res onto Yuang will maintain at least 2 players alive, and it's going to be going for the flush onto Laza in the second story of the Harry Potter. Tony team lighting up the kill feed as well. Royalty going to be losing several members to that engagement. Boris now trying to reposition off of those cliffs they had previously held on the eastern side of the map. But the pressure continues to mount. Tony team really starting to feel that after they had engaged on top of Royalty. The ADR farmers who continue to hold on to the hillsides just off the prison cliffs will be capitalizing on top of that. It will be wiping out Tony team in 14th place position. CrazyCrew now going to be turning their attention over towards Boris on those far eastern cliffs. However, huge nade coming back in for Sando that ends up finding a vehicular explosion, and down go 2 members of the CrazyCrew. A pretty crazy set of circumstances that is popping off here in front of our eyes, just shy of the 20-minute mark of the final game of the day. The 8th match to be played out here for Stage 2 PELC promos. HaKoHe going to be eliminated as well. They go out to the members of the ADR Farmers. Also, Brute Force with another early exit here in this game. It wasn't 16th place, but 12th place is definitely not the advancement, not the improvement that they were looking to have before closing out the day. Brute Force will likely drop a little bit further down the leaderboards after holding on to first place position walking into today. And Phase 4 is going to be closing out here in just a few seconds' time. If it goes north, it's going to be pretty crazy. If it goes to the lumber mill, it's going to be crazy, which means what we're in store for is a crazy game regardless. It splits it. Essentially, a shift over towards the west will be keeping the northern side of the circle, the southern part of the prison cliffs in play as shots start to pop off. A massive, massive breach coming in here for the DOS pilots, and they're able to find the spray down onto 2 of the members of Hakkapeliittas. 10 teams going to be remaining here. Hakkapeliittas still has 2 alive. Patrick and Martin, I believe, working their way off of that northern angle. They were separated from their teammates, engaged with another squad now up here towards the north, and won't be able to find any revenge whatsoever as they continue on. A lot of fans over here for DOS Pilots shouting out Pola. Yeah, Pola coming in with a massive play right there. Massive play right there for his squad. ADR Farmers have been able to play a very significant role here in this game, shooting off towards the eastern coast to pretty much every rotation that has crossed their paths and picking up a few kills in the process, and maintaining a 4-player squad presence is going to be impactful as they roll into the final 10 minutes or so of this match. Fight Club do spot out Boris. A few shots up here towards the edge of the blue zone. We'll be trying to find the connection. ZorF coming in. Massive, massive plays from ZorF in the previous game to close that out and claim the chicken dinner. And it doesn't stop here. ZorF continues to put up critical plays, finding a squad elimination and a kill onto Sando and the rest of Boris. Moving on now, we only have 9 teams remaining, 21 players alive, which is a pretty crazy player per team average. Just over 2 players per team is what we're working with at the 20-minute mark, which means we got a lot of solos in play. There are a lot of solo players based off the fact that we still have teams with 4 up. Fight Club going to be trying to rotate along the side of the cliffs here. After losing 1 member, we'll be facing off against the ADR Farmers. Big spray coming in from Triquo. No surprises to see them connecting onto those shots. Another member of Fight Club will be knocked down by Myca. That's 2 down as the third party comes in. Mkaelovich of the Intruders is going to be spraying and praying from up the prison cliffs, up on top of the lumber mill. And big connections at play here. ADR Farmers have to be a little bit more careful as they continue to maneuver their way around the eastern side of phase number 5. Hey, Justin. Good to see you. Glad that you're here and enjoying the PELC promos. Hope everyone in chat is having a good start to your week here as we finish off the final game of day number 2, stage 2. That shift over towards the northwest is going to be almost a hard shift, one that really puts a massive, massive impact on these squads over here on the east. They've got to work themselves through thick and thin to get just inside of the safe zone. And I would be surprised if we had more than 2 squads coming out of this alive. Istanbul Wildcats going to be holding on to the southern prison cliffs, which still somewhat sit inside of the northern part of phase number 6. They're going to be almost a gatekeeper to any of these teams trying to rotate around to the north, just like they were to Milta Power. Ewing gets dropped down and out, and Milta Power will be eliminated in 9th place position. We've entered into our top 8, our placement point teams, for the 4th game, final game of the day. And it's going to be Fight Club. ZorF and Circle working as a duo, trying to push around this eastern side of what was previously phase number 5 and find an entryway into phase number 6. But as they're starting to find out, it's not going to be huge spray down. Wow, 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 wow. What a flick coming in for Circle with a Scar headshot onto Mkaelovich of Intruders. That's exactly the type of play that they needed to have happen right there to stay alive. But unfortunately, ZorF does go down to the blue zone a little bit north of where Circle was fighting. And then the third party comes in. ADR, Anonymous, is there to finish it off. Rekorder for Intruders gets a massive flank behind Anonymous of that ADR farming squad and is able to find a nice knockdown. 14 HP is all he's working with, and trying to retreat back to a little bit of safety is going to be sprayed down. Flamyy finds the elimination onto Rekorder as well as the squad elimination onto the Intruders. Out in 7th place they go. The ADR farmers are able to recover off of this and continue on here. Very significant based off of what they had to work through to essentially get to this point. They've only got one player secured inside of the circle. Flamyy going to be pulling in his other teammates, Triquo and Anonymous, right now as they did recover off of that res. Those pilots, Pola still going to be alive on the second story of the Harry Potter. Keep in mind, Pola was the player from Dos Pilots that wiped out the 2 members of Hakkapeliittas trying to get inside of this Harry Potter. The other 2 members, now Patrick and Martin, were split off in a 2-2 to the north. They know exactly what is inside of this Harry Potter and will be trying to push up and get a little bit of revenge. Patrick and Martin both spraying down, trying to find some angle to find a connection onto Dos Pilots. Nades, though, are going to be returned right into the direction of Hakkapeliittas. Getting close, but no cigar onto the left and right-hand side of Martin. One more nade to go out, and they're going to be missing. I mean, I applaud the effort. The pressure is enough to keep Hakkapeliittas on their back foot and not pushing up onto the Harry Potter, which lies inside of phase number 7 on the western side of the circle. A readjustment now as the ADR farmers enter into the eastern side, southeastern side of phase number 7. Shout out to some of our PEL teams that are coming in here and showing support. I see some of the members of DA as well as ENS. So shout out to you guys. Always a pleasure to see you boys. ADR farmers still going to be working off of this eastern position. They still have the Istanbul Wildcats being fairly quiet now on the northern side of the circle. Apocalypse and his teammate really just going to be holding on. They faced off against a lot of pressure earlier on, but that's all been whittled down in the process. Moleman, one of the 2 remaining members of Stellar. I feel like every time, man, imagine how deadly of a team Stellar would be if they could maintain a 4-person presence into this late game. I feel like most of the time we look at them in these late game positions, and I want to put an asterisk by that, late game positions, they only have 2 or maybe even 1 member alive. Here's the good side. They end up making it into the late game. Bad side, they can't really close out from maybe a 6th place team to a 1st place team very easily with these numbers. Now going to be working off of this. They are sitting off a little bit to the east of where that Harry Potter with Hakkapeliittas and the solo player of Dos Pilots currently sit. Phase number 7 going to be closing out. A bait crate dropped in the center of it all as we see this shift. It's a slight nudge, not too much for a reposition off of the previous phase, but it does slightly favor up towards the northwest, and we'll be forcing the rotations to come out from our teams pretty much all around the circle. Everyone playing an edge position, no one really committing towards this open area, which we now find ourselves having to play out of. Hakkapeliittas will have to engage with Dos Pilots. That fight has to happen. It's going to be interesting to see how that 2v1 plays out and how Dos Pilots is going to be able to essentially get out of the second story of the Harry Potter. That's going to be the most difficult thing. If Pola can get out of the Harry Potter, he could possibly have at least, well, it goes without saying, he's going to have a better opportunity at taking the engagement. Martin from Hakkapeliittas ends up finding a nice spray down onto level, and Dose Pilots end up going out very quickly as a massive engagement pops off all around the map. Flamyy going to be going down for the ADR Farmers. Anonymous, the only member remaining, as they find themselves clashing with the Istanbul Wildcats and dropping them out in 5th place position. 4 teams now going to be remaining at the 28-minute mark of the game. Flasm, who was dropped by the Hakkapeliittas shots from the far northwest, will be going down to the blue zone, leaving level with just 1 player alive. Flamyy being summoned to crawl over to the tree side where Anonymous currently sits to try to get the res. ADR Farmers are going to have a good amount of time to recover off of this. No real threats over here on the eastern side of the circle. It's really just going to be Celis and Moleman a little bit up the hillside, but they're not pushing over. They don't want to risk anything just yet. They want other players to crest over the hill into their lines of sight instead of the opposite way around. Moleman going to be creeping down very close to being able to spot out one. He does. He spots out Flamyy. The second not going to be coming out. Tries to get the second spray down onto Anonymous. Is not able to find it. Very close. Very close, but Moleman does go down and out. Another res has to come out with the blue zone now pushing in the final collapse here. 2.5 minutes left. Flamy's able to crawl a little bit forward while still maintaining the res timer and does get back up on its feet. A critical moment right now for ADR Farmers and being able to keep 2 members alive here in the final moments of this game. This, I believe, keeps them even with Hakkapeliittas. The most amount of numbers that any team currently has alive is going to be 2. It's a 2v1, v1v2. Hakkapeliittas going to be holding on to the northern side of phase number 9 as it continues to collapse. Flamyy with a huge nade from being knocked to finding another kill and an elimination kill at that, to also being knocked once again. Celis is able to find the spray down and get a little bit more revenge for Moleman, who just went out previously. Flamyy trying to crawl inside of the smoke, trying to give some information over to his teammate Anonymous, who now finds himself in a 1v1v1 scenario. Hakkapeliittas is going to be knocked down. Yes, ADR Farmers will be eliminated out of the map. Patrick from Hakkapeliittas ends up finding that elimination kill onto the ADR Farmers. Stellar has been able to find themselves in a top 2 scenario. A 1v1 situation, spots out the remaining member, bleeding out for Hakkapeliittas. Martin does get flushed out. The 4th kill going to be picked up by Stellar. In another 1v1 scenario, these games have been incredibly exciting so far on the day, and really sets us up for an exciting final 2 days of Stage 2 coming up tomorrow and Wednesday. We'll see how this final game plays out. Celis going to be creeping up. Patrick behind the tree. Both players holding on, riding the blue zone in. Celis took a little bit of blue zone damage there. Need to be careful. This is one of the critical moments of these PUBG games where one shot can make the difference, and that blue zone tick could have been all the HP that Hakkapeliittas needed to be able to find the kill onto Stellar. We'll see, though, as the zone continues to collapse. Both players playing on a different set of elevation. You can see Patrick in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen will be holding on to the downslope of the hill. Celis holds on, spots him out through the grass. Here's the shots, but the strafe comes in, and Hakkapeliittas closes that game out in high fashion. A massive effort coming in from both of those squads in the final moments of this game. Big shout out to Stellar as well as Hakkapeliittas. But it goes the way of Hakkapeliittas. A 16-point game, 6 kills, and a chicken dinner is what they're going to be able to walk away with here in the final game of the day. What a way to close it out. We'll take a recap here of some of the critical moments of this game with our beautiful replays coming out of our StarLadder production. Shout out to PEL Esports for providing us with such views. It wasn't easy for Stellar, and that's pretty much what you're seeing in the kill feed, as they had multiple knocks onto the squad, and we're only left with Moleman and Celis at the end of the game. Guys, we'll start to set it up at least for the remainder of stage number 2. If you just started tuning in, or if you weren't aware of the schedule, we do have 2 more days of play, 4 games per day. We are halfway done now with the matches for the stage 2 PELC promos. Same time, same place on Tuesday and Wednesday. I hope that you're all going to be able to join us. However, And the off chance that you're not able to, you can always go back, guys. You can always go back and check out the VODs, as well as head on over to the PUBG Esports.eu website. Check out all of the standings. They're pretty much updated instantly after the games are done. Individual stats of players, team stats, news, everything that you need to pretty much be up to date with everything that's happening inside of the PEL and PELC. That was a pretty epic fight in between Hakkapeliittas and Dos Pilots. Big shout out to Polo for what he was able to do in that fight and push their team into at least a top 8 placement, which was definitely significant for the Pilots. But again, yes, 2 more days of play. We're going to go back to the first day schedule tomorrow, where we play 2 games of Miramar after our Sinnock match. And then the final day, we'll be back to 2 rounds of Erangel. Or vice versa. Yeah, vice versa. That's exactly how it's going to go. But a great day. Nonetheless, I want to give a big shout out to all the squads that came in here to compete. I want to give a big shout out to you guys moving forward. I hope that you guys have successes that you were hoping to find. Hope the VOD review goes well, because there's going to be a lot of it. This has proven to be a very competitive lobby, even more so than we saw in stage number 1. And I think teams are starting to recognize that. Definitely starting to recognize that. Entering into the final moments now of the game through the highlights. Anonymous, ADR having a hell of a push there in the final few moments. Unfortunately, we're spotted out by the solo player of Hakkapeliittas. And there you have it, guys. Here are our standings. How each match shaped up. Milk the Power taking away game number 1. Tony Team with game number 2. Fight Club winning game number 3. And Hakkapeliittas closing out the day with the victory in game number 4. Not sure if we're going to have stats for the games or not, but those should be calculated, I would believe, right now. So we'll wait a few seconds to see if we are going to be having those graphics up here on the board. But yeah, I mean, everyone's saying it in chat, guys. A stellar day. No pun intended. Maybe I have to erase that word from my vocabulary when we have a team called stellar. But a great day for all teams around. I think we saw some pretty significant development in the leaderboards by some of our teams that were kind of riding on the cusp of falling out of the top 9. We'll take a look now at how the standings shaped up just from this match alone. 2 teams, Brute Force and Royalty, not able to rack up any points from this match. Possibly the 3rd game today. I think that Brute Force was not able to come up with any points. Crazy to see. Crazy to see, just based off of the significant and dominant performance we saw from them yesterday. I mean, going from number 1 on the leaderboards to a team that is playing similar to teams at the bottom of the leaderboards is quite the shift. The top half, though, from match number 8, ADR Farmers, even though Hakkapeliittas won that game, they won the chicken dinner. ADR Farmers, with their massive 13 kill total, were able to stack up 18 points from this game. Hakkapeliittas with 16 points, Stellar with 10 points, Level with 9 points. So a significant amount of points being dished out here in this game, very top-heavy in terms of the top 8 teams walking away with them. We'll switch now into the individual damage leaders of match number 8 alone. 700 and almost 30 damage being applied by Anonymous of the ADR Farmers. And I think that's no surprise. If you were watching this match, we saw several times from this player's perspective, and they were always putting out damage, always putting out pressure around the map. Here are your kill leaders from game number 4. Again, no surprises to see that they were the kill leaders for the match in terms of their squad, and Anonymous sits atop the leaderboards with 5 kills coming off of our final match of the day. Level going to be coming in with 4 kills. A few ties there as we slowly trickle down to 2 kills for the rest of those top players. ADR Farmers going to be stacked up against Hakkapeliittas. Significant amount of damage put out by both squads, but almost double the amount of damage by the ADR Farmers. And here, ladies and gentlemen, your final leaderboards coming in after day number 2. Halfway developed, because we've got 2 more days of gameplay for Stage 2 PELC promos. But the Istanbul Wildcats, as it stand, coming out of game number 8 of Stage 2. First place, 74 points on the board. Fight Club, very close behind, 72 points. 67 points held by Tony Team in 3rd place, and the ADR Farmers moving into 4th place with 65. Stellar in 5th with 57. It continues to trickle down. The top 9 are where you're going to want to be focused. Hakkapeliittas has moved into the top 9. A few teams have dropped out, but it remains very, very close in terms of what these teams are going to be able to do, the movement that is going to open itself up to some of these teams with 8 more matches to be played out here at the PELC promos. Guys, I want to give a big shout out to everyone who stuck around through chat, who joined us here for the matches yesterday as well as today. And we sincerely hope that you end up joining us once again tomorrow at the same time, 1900 CEST, as well as Wednesday, same time, same place, for more PUBG action. Who are going to be the top 9 teams to roll in to phase number 1 of the PELC for 2020? We'll see after day number 4. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. My name's Esquire. Make sure to drop a follow. Check me out on Instagram and Twitter at TheRealESQ, and we'll see you next time.